just flew in from New Zealand, and boy are my arms tired. I am so happy that I actually got to do that joke, legitimately. Hello everyone, how are you doing? I'm Alasdair. Yeah, I did nail it. I nailed it good. Content warning, bad jokes. Dad joke detected. Security, oddly impressed.
Really?
So,
Oddly impressed?
it's my head.
Okay.
There we are.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, everyone. So I just did my reading at Wilcon, which was great, and like all readings at Wilcon, seemed to be 11.2 seconds long. The magnificent Matt Wallace, whose Savage Legion is out last week, and which is amazingly good.
Very, very good!
Once famously had a reading at Wilcon, which seemed to be about 2 minutes long, where a small belligerent old lady basically jabbed her finger at a laminated sign saying 5 minutes until he stopped talking. It happens a lot, and I think it's just a time dilation thing. It's alright. Savage Legion, available now. A book so good, car alarms are going off outside.
And it caused me to stay up till 2:30 in the morning because I couldn't not.
The sign today says, fuck fascism, Black Lives Matter. Because we felt like it was a point that was worth making. Our first reading today comes to us. Ta-da! Marguerite made art.
No, Marguerite made a political statement because somebody told her she might not be able to.
Yeah, that too. Shitpost, that is the best excuse I've ever heard. Sorry I'm in late, I was feeding my spider. It's fine, you feed your spider whatever you want. Whatever you want. So, I think there's a reasonable chance we've got some Wilcon folks in here. We have got some folks from Magnus Archives, some folks from Pseudopod, and some people who have just, entered my orbit across the various towns and places I've lived and worked. Well, you are all incredibly welcome. Thank you so much for coming. This is normally a stream that takes place at 10. And normally what we do is have a little bit of an intro where I will read an opening monologue and then do a scary story and then do some Magnus Archives related shenanigans, and then we're done for the week. This week is going to be a little bit different because, like I said, I just did my reading at Worldcon, and having carefully planned it out for 25 minutes, they gave me 18, I'm pretty sure. So I'm going to do the stuff from that, which is a couple of pieces from my newsletter and a Pseudopod end cap, and I'm also going to maybe mix it up and throw something else brand new in there. And then...
But I need to, real quick, just to say thank you to Purple for letting us use their art for the fan art.
Massive thanks to Purple for letting us use the just gorgeous Rusty Quill Streams fan art as our opening fan art. It's just amazing. It's genuinely one of the best bits I've ever seen.
Vamp, I'm digging up a link.
Marguerite's digging up a link right now, and I am going to jump into this week's opening monologue, which comes to us from from the Book of St. Nathan. Chapter 60. Quad Bike Sorcerer. A forest canopy at the height of summer, birdsong and the lazy drone of bees. A breeze rustles the leaves and we hear distant shouts. Cut to a man in mud-stained travelling clothes bound with grubby rope, struggling on a dirt track. We pan up. Sat on a barrel of wine, a leering goblin brandishes a rusty dagger on its claws. The wicked creature chuckles and helps itself to another cup of wine beside the road. Nearby, its fellows rifle through the merchant's overturned cart. It is a scene of callous injustice. And the goblin chief is clearly relishing his victim's dismay. But then, something changes on the creature's face as the humming of the bees grows louder in the distance. Fear crystallizes. The hum builds to a growl, and the heads of the other goblins snap up from their looting. This is not the sound of bees. A parallax zoom leaves the goblins in the foreground, and we focus on a rise in the forest track. Beyond it, the noise builds. It is a throaty roar now, with something else underlying it. A human voice, bellowing an incantation. The goblins turn to flee, but it is too late. Their reckoning is upon them. A chorus of voices blasts out in song as we glance back at the road, and in slow motion, a blazing shape crests the rise and hangs in the air like a breaching dolphin. It is a flame-red ATV, sun glinting from immaculate chrome fittings, and it's ridden by a wizard in flowing cerulean robes. His face is cast in righteous fury, his hair whips in the wind of his passage. Around his bone-white staff, fire coils in a tight spiral. With a shout of command, he levels the staff at the goblins and flames surge forth. The screen fades to black with a whoomph of fire, and the main refrain from Journey of the Sorcerer by the Eagles plays slowly on the plucked strings of a dulcimer. That's the opening cinematic from Quad Bike Sorcerer, and if that alone doesn't earn it a place as one of the most remarkable games of all time, then we're not sure what will. Verdict: it's about a wizard who rides a magical quad bike. What more do you need to know? 100 Video Games That Never Existed by the awe-inspiring mind of Nate Crowley, everybody.
Which number was that?
This is number 60, I believe.
We should do like a random die roll at some point.
Like game roulette. What's new with Alasdair this week? Oh, not much. Anyway, it turns out you can attend 2 conventions simultaneously, if they are electronic conventions. Allow me to set the scene. Worldcon is currently happening in New Zealand, and I'm not in New Zealand. Neither is basically everybody at Worldcon, but we are attending it via the wonders of Discord and various other things. However, what became apparent about 5 or 6 days ago was there were several issues which are always going to come up when a convention has to suddenly pivot to, the online in no time at all, which needed to be addressed. We addressed them. And one of the last ones that we addressed is the simple fact that New Zealand is 11 hours away. It's 11 time zones out.
So we kind of, sort of have jet lag, but not really. Witness the fact that here in the UK it is 11:10 p.m. and we are eating dinner.
There is a movie version of a very famous play called Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are Dead. And Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are Dead is about the 2 best friends of Hamlet, and it's what's happening to them while Hamlet is happening somewhere else. And the movie version, which stars Tim Roth and Gary Oldman and Richard Dreyfuss as the Player King, and is unbelievably great, actually plays it like Hamlet the play basically mugs them. Because they spend the entire movie wandering around the castle going, what the hell is going on? And then suddenly a scene which they're in from the play will happen, and they'll drop effortlessly into Shakespearean dialogue and iambic pentameter and talk in a manner that suggests they really know what they're doing, and in reality they're both like, oh my god. And that's what this week feels like, a little bit. In that Worldcon just kind of rears up like this big old kaiju and goes, pay attention to me! And at the same time, we are 2 of the people running New Zealand Fringe, which is an entirely unofficial, complimentary sidetrack to Worldcon on UK and US friendly timing, which is great and is actually the most positive convention experience I've had in quite some time, but is also very tiring, especially as it did not exist
10 days ago.
In any form 10 days ago. It has been an week. I am aware it is Wednesday.
Do you want to talk a little bit more about Con Zealand Fringe and what the content is?
Yes, basically Con Zealand Fringe is, I think we have about 15 panels altogether. It's 2 or 3 a day across the same week as Con Zealand. And it's all on YouTube. And the brilliant thing about it being on YouTube is if you don't watch it live, it's still there forever. There is literally a Con Zealand Fringe playlist which you can go to and watch every single panel once the show is done.
And it's been so good.
It's been fantastic. And we've been able to do a lot of stuff which the core show, for whatever reason, didn't do. Like the first one we had was an entirely native New Zealand panel discussing New Zealand speculative fiction. Yesterday, I ran a panel about the evolution of the fanzine in the digital and social media age. Today, we've had all kinds of excellent stuff, which
We
is
had Your Fave is Problematic, a perennial fandom.
which overran by like 300%. It was brilliant. They were having so much fun. They were like, well, no one else needs the room. The room is our houses. Let's just keep going.
And let's see, tomorrow we have Dragons on a Spaceship, the resurgence of science fantasy and genre-bending fiction with Bogey to Catch, Gareth M. Powell, Dong Won Song, Jeanette Ng, and Sui Davis Lukabama. And then Thursday, we also have Worlds That Breathe, interactive world building for games.
Yes, and I am also doing a panel later on in the week, which I was basically parachuted onto because the moment the description was locked in, people went, that's Alasdair. Which is called Best of the Worst Year, which is, we have had 6 months of this horrible dog's ass crack of a trudge around the sun, and actually there's been some really good media produced in it. Let's talk about that. And I will be talking about some of the things I've seen or read or played that I've really enjoyed that have come out of 2020 so far. And it is genuinely really good fun. And what we're trying to do with it is not take ownership of it, which is the most important thing.
Yeah.
I mean, without going into the kind of brain-bleeding detail which will just make synovial fluid trickle from every hole in your skull, genre fiction is rancid with tradition. Everything is done because it's always been done that way. And if something's always been done that way, it doesn't matter if the way it's always been done is stupid or isn't fit for purpose or accidentally excludes people. It's, well, you know, this was whittled from the proto-forms and as a result it has to stay that way. Oh, Haven, I'm so glad you like The Old Guard. Margaret and I are actually on a podcast talking about that and the movie and the comic on tomorrow.
At Worldcon.
At Worldcon, which is going to be great.
We're on Skiffy and Fanty Live.
We're on Skiffy and Fanty Live. We will put the link in the show notes. I'm trying out hand gestures. It's not going well. I'm going to move on.
Are you going to read us some stuff now?
Yes.
No, you have to do proof of life first.
He wanted a ribbon because things are fancy. Good boy.
Explain for the poor people who have joined us what on earth you just did.
For those of you who have just joined us and are wondering, I'm guessing, that's Chungus. Chungus is our sourdough starter. Chungus, as you can see by the chat, has fan art. In a couple of weeks, we will be beginning a serialized reading of A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking by T. Kingfisher, which is a fantastic and very funny novella where the main character's familiar is a sourdough starter. We are looking for a wizard's hat for him. If we get one, I promise you we'll let you down.
I wonder if we could get like a Build-A-Bear Hogwarts outfit.
So he'd be like Dumble Chungus. The other option was Chungus Door.
Dumble Chungus?
Dumble Chungus.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
I'm a Hugo finalist. Twice. And speaking, as we were, of Hugo finalists, what I'm going to be reading for you tonight is a couple of pieces from my Hugo voting packet. This is wildly different to everything we've ever done here before. Firstly, because this is all written by me. Secondly, because every single piece I'm about to throw at you is non-fiction, so this will feel weird, but hopefully it will feel the good kind of weird. And before we do that, just a very quick reminder, if you need water or a drink or some food, please get them. If you want to get comfortable for a minute, so as we settle in, please do. If there are meds that you need to take, please take them.
Are there any content warnings for our readings tonight?
I don't even think there are swears. Hold on.
There's got to be swears. Come
on. Very mild content warning. Professor sneezed. Good grief. That's brilliant. Yes, all the articles I'm about to read can be found here. Very mild content warning for the first one, which is a review of a movie that deals with grief. The second one is a pseudopod endcap, which deals with horror as a fundamentally hopeful genre. So I wrote that. The third one is content warning for possible accidental Smallville karaoke.
What?
You'll see.
Oh no.
The fourth one is a piece about the Gaiman scripted Audible adaptation of Sandman. And I mean, literally the only content warning you could give for that is I'm a little grumpy. So, with all that being said, and there might be a mystery fifth one, you never know. For all that being said, I'm going to take a slug of water. I recommend you do the same. And jump on in. And I'm now mildly terrified someone's going to go, 5 minutes left. Like, no!
Should I make a little sign that says 5 minutes left that I can stick in front of you? Will that feel better?
Only if you have it on a telescoping metal rod, so it can kind of go...
I got 10 minutes. Go for it.
I love her.
Searching for Tiny Wizard Hat on Amazon has options for Chungus.
Yes! Thank you. Fanta is absolutely fine. Right, let's make a start. Starfish. Aubrey returns home for her best friend Grace's funeral. She's numb, angry, closed off, and she is running from something awful. Aubrey nests inside Grace's life, sleeping at her old apartment and refusing to accept the truth. The next morning, she's alone. The town is covered with snow and horrific creatures prowl the streets. But Aubrey can save the world, because Grace knew this was coming, and Grace has made her the last mixtape humanity will ever need. Starfish, 80 White's debut, refutes the idea that cinema or genre fiction is simplistic, with basically every frame. It combines a meditation on grief with an exploration of small-town life, the end of the world, and a star-making turn from Virginia Gardner, best known for her work in Runaways. White sets up a complex structure, a quest, and a secret, and then proceeds to hand us the pieces and invite us to assemble it ourselves, and even decide which pieces fit together, in which order. Lesser filmmakers would fail. White succeeds completely. A massive part of that is Gardner, who throws everything into her turn as Aubrey. She's depressed, reclusive, quiet, and most of all, deeply recognizable. Grief wears this oversized jumper, and as Gardner trudges across town, every element of the movie focuses back on Aubrey's mindset. The snow, the bad weather, the quiet. At one point in a Socratic dialogue with either herself or a ghost, Aubrey talks about how she can't feel her fingers. The reason why is disassociation. And disassociation is the answer and the magnetic north the movie always steers towards. If this was just art house grief with a light seasoning of genre, then it wouldn't work. But the genius of what White does here lies in how the narrative builds your perspective into it, and then plays with your expectations. Early on, I was convinced the entire movie was a hallucination, and Aubrey was being talked out of it. By the time in the movie's best scene, she briefly visits the scene of the movie and watches Gardner playing her, I was less sure. The moment the ending came around, I was convinced again. The moment someone presses a button on the tape deck after the ending, I changed my mind. This is a movie where certainty is as mercurial as the world is concrete, where the cacophony of possibility howls against the snowed-shut windows of grief. It is incredibly audacious, all the more so just for how well it works. Starfish is categorically genre fiction, but it's genre fiction that is adaptable and protean in a manner that embraces the viewer even as it challenges you. Moments of breathtaking visual choices, especially an animated sequence, sparkle all the more for the bleak scenes that bookend them. Aubrey's strange, quiet world is beautiful as well as dangerous, a home as well as a prison. She spends the movie making choices about what it really is, and we are with her every step of the way, trudging out across a blank page of snow, writing our name into a world we're still adapting to, changing our story as we change ourselves, watching the end shift and evolve somewhere far, far in the distance. Grief, science fiction, horror, joy, the pains of small-town life, all in under 100 minutes. Starfish is complex, emotionally charged, essential viewing, and it is available to stream and buy now. Next up, we have an outro from the Pseudopod episode released on the 1st of September 2019. This is a story called Birds of Passage, which is legitimately in my top 10 favourite episodes of all time. It is quite unlike the vast majority of stuff we do. Thank you, Dave. But also absolutely in keeping with it in really big, interesting thematic sweeps. This essay, because I am a mere 7 years behind in collecting and releasing the collections of endcaps, is also titled, and that title is From Which Anything. There's a quote from the story I love, and it's this: "A darkness from which anything could emerge." I get in a lot of trouble every now and then for talking about horror as an inherently hopeful genre. It is, and what sort of hope it provides depends on your mood. The darkest flavour is, of course, Schadenfreude. We laugh because we would never do something so stupid. We scream at the two-dimensional monster that is safely trapped within those 2 dimensions. We embark on a journey into the darkness on rails, knowing full well that however bad it gets, the train will not stop and we will come out the other side. Then there's the kind of horror embodied by the quote above and by the story as a whole. The kind of horror cut with the espresso buzz of joy, of discovery. The repeated refrain here, "It's an adventure," is one redolent with meaning, and by no means all of those meanings are positive. This is what happens when you step off the track. This is what happens, it is implied heavily, when whatever is just off the track sees you. What haunts me about this piece is that it's beautiful. It speaks on a deep and primal level to the same thing that attracts me to The Mist. And if you haven't seen the movie version of The Mist, especially the black and white version, please do. It is extraordinary. To Cloverfield, to Tim Lebbon's superlative and underrated novel Coldbrook. The beauty of the alien is the baseline to every genre of speculative fiction. Arguably every genre, even. We move instinctively towards the leviathans glimpsed off the path. We move instinctively towards the leviathans glimpsed off the path, precisely because they are both leviathans and off the path. We are attracted to the new, not just because it could destroy us, but because it's new. I saw this last week, driving up the country through 3 sets of traffic jams, all of them caused by people wanting to look at big construction equipment. Sometimes what's off the path is adultery or murder. Sometimes it's alien life, or the books that help young witches escape. Sometimes it's the voice a young black woman needs to articulate the problems her neighbourhood is refusing to buckle under. Sometimes, and this is that rarest of instances where I can legitimately quote Ghostbusters 2, it's just some big lizard. But it's always beautiful, and it's always terrifying, and it's always there. And that constancy, that knowledge, that's hopeful too. I love this piece. You may be able to tell.
We have a lot of big lizard stories on Pseudopod, don't we?
What can I say? We're always down with the kaiju.
It's like the lounge version of Down with the Sickness, Down with the Kaiju.
Down with the kaiju.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Earlier today I saw a fantastic supercut on YouTube of someone saying Godzilla and looking off shot and it instantly cutting to Godzilla. And it's like the perfect demonstration of that. You repeat things enough times, it becomes funny. And
Kind
it's
of like the song you were playing before the stream today?
Yes, exactly. The pitch corrected version of All Star by Smash Mouth, which just gets to the "and they don't stop coming," and just keeps going.
For the rest of the song.
And is pitch shifted to adjust to the rest of the song. And it becomes hilarious. And then it punches out the other side of hilarious into awful. And then it punches out the other side of awful back into hilarious. And it's just, I love it to tiny, tiny pieces. It looks like Godzilla, but due to international copyright laws, it is not.
For anybody who's seen the most recent Godzilla movie, that is Alasdair's tea mug. It says "not yours" on it.
I regret nothing.
If anybody's surprised, we also have the bouncy balls from West Wing, and we will sit here and bounce them back and forth and talk every once in a while.
Yeah, we do. Quite a lot. You complete me.
I love you.
I love you too.
You gonna read another one?
I'm going to read another one. So, the other thing I do at the full lid, which is where the first and this piece have come from, is I tend to go the whole forth at length about things. The most recent example of this is I have about 2,500 words on how only I can save the Expendables franchise. And I mean all of it. I mean the core movies and the Expendables spin-offs, which went very awful, so awful they actually never made them, and the Jason Statham spin-off movie. And it involves stunt doubles and Sylvester Stallone's evil brother playing Barney's evil brother. And I've said too much. So instead...
We'll put that one in the thread. How about that?
Yes. Instead, what I'm going to do is talk about my favourite Kryptonian. Because Warner Brothers keep trying to reboot Superman. And I keep having opinions. And here are some of them. Saving the Man of Tomorrow. My favourite son of Krypton is back in the news. Henry Cavill has made it clear there's still things he wants to do with the role. Warners have mumbled something about an important call on the other line and made vague noises about trying to make Superman more relevant. This has, understandably, led to the sort of howls of derision normally reserved for Joss Whedon reminding everyone how totes feminist he is. It's not been a good look. It's also not a conversation that's entirely needed. The truth is, Superman has never been more relevant. He's an undocumented migrant raised in Kansas who grew up surrounded by the 56.16% of the state's population that voted in the most violently anti-anyone-but-him president in modern history. Plus, he's a journalist. The only subgroup said president and his supporters hate even more than people who are different colours, religions, sexualities, or who look funny. In other words, Clark Kent is an open door to the sort of complex, necessary, and difficult conversation pop culture is very good at having with itself. So, while it's good they maybe don't want him to be a Dean Randian murderer anymore, Warner Brothers really needs to buy several clues from the clue store. And I have excellent news because it just so happens I own a franchise. First off, the Michael B. Jordan effect. Michael B. Jordan is one of those actors whose work never fails to be good. If you've seen Fruitvale Station, you'll know how good he is at dialing it down. If you've seen Black Panther, you'll know how good he is at turning it up. Fantastic Four, Creed, Fahrenheit 451. While Jordan hasn't always done good movies, he's always been good in the movies he's done. Word is, he's pitched an idea for the character to Warners. On the one hand, great. On the other, he's busy for the next several years. Most importantly, this really is a do it right or don't do it at all situation. While the rumour is that Jordan pitched something based on Calvin Ellis, an alternate Earth Superman who is also the US president, whichever version of the character would have to be informed by cultural elements that white viewers would not find familiar. This is an objectively very, very good thing, because diversity and inclusion are of course how we evolve as a species, but as the always excellent cultural critic Stitch pointed out a few years ago, the environment this would happen in is the textbook definition of non-permissive. Now, that isn't to say it can't or shouldn't be done. It can, and it should. And podcasts like Red Wing, which deals with a openly gay superhero, or more recently the extraordinarily good Valence, demonstrate how. Get the right creatives aboard. Trust them. Get out of their way and let a unique take on a classic story happen. You want to make the character relevant? Do something daring with him and hand it over to one of the best actors on the planet. Option 2. Zalia, no, I haven't seen Jedlock and I really want to. I do hear it's very good. Halt and catch falling Loises. So, much as I love Smallville, and the original story did have a link to the theme tune here, these two are here not to advocate for a return to the show so much as a placeholder. Because if you want to make Clark relevant, you don't do that on the big screen. You do it on the small screen. Literally. You start them as podcasters running a current affairs show. Both gifted, both young, both gloriously differently stupid, and both broke as hell. Have Pete Ross run it. Have the other Planet correspondents cameo as other staffers. They're all younger, all working their asses off. They live in the city of tomorrow. They live somewhere that has an actual honest-to-God superhero and under an administration that has all but declared war on him, and they eat noodles 3 times a week and can barely make rent. How do they keep the company going? What happens when Lois gets asked to join the Planet? What happens when LexCorp accidentally shuts off the power to their building? Or the LexCorp lab at the end of the block blows up and a green rain falls that puts Clark in the hospital? Explore how these people live with and around each other as their own bosses in a city that doesn't care about them, but that they care desperately for. They know they're good enough to change the world if they just got the chance. And at the end of the first season, you have them faced with that chance. You let the planet buy them out, or you let Lex sponsor them for the rest of their lives and return for the odd favour. It gets that halt and catch fire startup vibe. It allows you to do old school Superman punching slum landlord stories and social justice exploration through the lens of a city literally building itself into the future, and the canvas of a superhero learning who he can be. The final option I have for you is called Superfamily Assemble. Melissa Benoist has been the anchor of what is comfortably the best DCU TV show there is. I love you, Bebo, but even you, sit down, for the last 5 seasons, and the show works precisely because the showrunners get the character. Now, they've actually had Lois and Clark on as semi-regular guests, and they're also now moving them off into their own spin-off, but the solution here is actually really simple. You put all of them on the big screen. Because, like Chris Evans as Captain America, Tyler Hoechlin and Melissa Benoist as Clark and Kara exude the fundamental goodness and calm of their characters. Better still, they both bring the lightness of touch the characters desperately need, and God love them, the Warner movies got for the whole last 10 minutes of the Whedon cut of Justice League. Clark and Kara are the perfect combination of cornball, goof, and golden retriever. They are country kids raised with profoundly old-fashioned and yet still inclusive values, who think people should be nice and help one another. In anyone else's hands, it would be corny. Here, it plays absolutely real. Plus, there's the wonderful sequence in an early episode where they stop a bank robbery while debating while people always try and punch the bulletproof superhero shows. They're actually kind of adorable. Like I say, a Clark and Lois show based pretty closely on the extremely fun Super Sons comic, and their current domestic life is in the works, and that's going to make a particular strand of fan, of which I am one, very happy. But that's not the point here. The point is that a systemic failure of imagination has meant that a character who is universally relatable has been a glowering murder petrel for 1.75 movies. Somehow, the idea of someone who is strong, good, and kind feels alien to the studio, even in the post-Steve Rogers world we live in. That saddens me more than I can say. But the fact that ideas ranging from Jordan's take to the Super Sons are being considered means there really are grounds for hope, and that, more than anything else, is what Superman excels at. Hope. In the darkest hours, the reassurance not just of his strength, but of our own. That, more than anything else, is what we need in popular culture in the year of our Lord Keanu 19, which means, far from him being irrelevant, this truly is the last Son of Krypton's moment.
Even more so in this year than last year.
Yes. I have used the phrase 20 fucking what now in more recent pieces. Not now, microbes that have previously lain dormant for hundreds of millions of years. Now, I have 2 more pieces for you, and we actually have a good chunk of time.
Yeah, we're doing okay.
But one of them is not loaded into this document because it was a last minute find. So, do you have my iPad?
Yeah, hold on a second. Let's see if the stream falls over because you've taken it out of airport mode. Hopefully not. I just gotta find it. Here we go.
It's all good.
Sorry, everybody.
Been a long day.
It's Wednesday, Lemon.
Only for the next 25 minutes.
Shush now.
I love how the moment I even consider turning a device off airplane mode, the stream goes, red, I can't take it. Stop it now.
So hopefully this won't fall over and you can pull up what you need
and then immediately go back to airplane mode.
Yeah, exactly. Vamp, quick!
I don't know why she says vamp and I go for the Johnny Carson theme, as sung by Cartman, but there we go. Okay. Every now and then, I'll wait for it to come back up. I'm off airplane mode now.
Is it feeling more stable now?
Nope, we're still on red, and...
Yeah, now we're getting buffer.
Ah, damn it all. Hold fast, folks. I think we're climbing back out.
Does it look better now?
No, it's dropping. I do not know why that is suddenly borked. That is very weird.
Is it still borked?
We're on 1105 kbs, but we're also still showing a red light.
Okay. Hang on a second. We might have to stop the stream and reinitiate. I'm hoping not. What is running all of a sudden? I don't know.
Folks, can you hear me? And are we still buffering in video as well? Oh, Jack says we're better.
It looks like it's creeping. No, it doesn't look like it's doing much better.
But the delay is big.
Okay. I think what we'll do is, why don't we let everybody know we're going to stop the stream and come right back.
Okay. Folks, what we're going to do is stop the stream temporarily and basically conduct the tried and tested IT technique of turning it off and then turning it back on.
Why don't we actually go to our BRB? We're going to troubleshoot. We'll be right back.
And we're back. How's everyone been? It's been so long. Every now and again I don't behave. I have been conditioned.
No!
Shut up. I've been conditioned from a professional point of view to always be kind of slightly studious and academic and show my sources and all of this. And then there are the days where I have enough coffee. And on the days when I have enough coffee, I write things like this. My Event Horizon Fever Dream. It takes a certain type of movie to successfully land a haunted house that's a spaceship as a concept. It takes even more to attract a cast including Lawrence Fishburne, Sam Neill, Jolie Richardson, Joan Allen, Jack Noseworthy, King of all names, Jason Isaacs and Sean Pertwee.
Hello to Jason Isaacs.
Making an actual legitimately good movie that uses Audible's Satan as its final jump scare takes the sort of moxie that makes George Clooney nod appreciatively down the bar of the casino at you, even as Sandra Bullock and Cate Blanchett are taking your contact details for their next job. Event Horizon, written and directed by Paul Anderson, has that moxie. The Lewis and Clark is a deep-range search and rescue vessel. Someone drops the ball, they get the call, off at the gallop to save some lives. But the Event Horizon, a testbed for the world's first interstellar drive, has just reappeared after a decade away. And Dr. Weir, the ship's designer, wants answers. Spoiler, all those answers involve horrible things. I love Event Horizon. It's a big, gore-soaked puppy of a movie that folds my favourite horror tropes. Hi, I'll be your villain this evening, and I've translated the Latin and it says we're fucked, and throws them into my favourite setting. Plus it does so with no chill at all. The Event Horizon's interior looks like a cathedral had blackout sex with an Iron Maiden album cover. The drive itself looks like Pinhead's stress toy. This is clearly the bad place. which makes watching this likeable crew of assholes be slowly but surely destroyed by it both all the more horrifying and just vastly entertaining. Now, word comes to us that Event Horizon is about to be adapted for TV by Amazon under the control of Adam Wingard. Wingard, as well as sounding a little bit like a Gargoyles bad guy, is a horror director with a grounded and unflinching eye. And The Guest is one of my all-time favourite movies. Seriously, it is built like nothing on earth and is so much fun. He's doing the work for Amazon because eventually we all will, and that's not good. But hey, at least this way it won't get cancelled 2 to 3 seasons in for featuring women, gay people, and non-Caucasians, right, Netflix? I remember Sense8. Anyway, but here's the thing. I want very badly this to be one of those shows people don't see coming. And with the benefit of an unlimited budget and not having the job, here's how I do it. Lie for 2 seasons. Have 2 full seasons of the Lewis and Clark going on adventures. Space adventures. Space rescue adventures. Have Miller defy orders to drop them into a Martian dust storm and rescue a crew trapped on a stratolite. Have Stark be offered the big chair on the Fines and turn it down because she realizes she likes being on the Clark more. Follow Coop as the ship rescue technician finds himself working a job in the lunar habitat he grew up in. Show us the horrific trauma that leads to DJ becoming the mumbling, quiet, reserved, and clearly furious man he is. Have the Clark be the only ship available to rescue Smitty's old posting, including the commanding officer that he transferred to search and rescue to escape. Full space casualty, maximum Skytruck. You know it makes sense. And it does. There is a top-notch cast in there. I'm seeing Aldous Hodge as Miller, Lauren Cohan as Stark, Toby Cabell as Smitty, just for starters, and let them work and let the audience invest in the show's fundamentally reassuring aesthetic and hard world. The simple, brutal, and fun drudgery of working search and rescue in a busy solar system. Make us care about these characters. Show us how they became who they are. And then send them to hell. Play the movie out exactly as it was on the screen. Pick them off one by one and make sure it all hurts. Have evil not only assault the sanity of Dr. Weir, but the very shape of the show itself. Curdle space casualty into space casualties. End the show. Break the toys. Drop the mic. Cue the music. Or at least that's what I do. Event Horizon is in development at Amazon now, and you can bet I'm looking forward to what they do.
That was a good day.
I had fun with that.
We have somebody saying I don't know what this show is. You want to talk a little bit more about Event Horizon?
Yes, Event Horizon is an early 1990s science fiction horror movie, which basically deals with a search and rescue team fighting not stairs, thankfully, but in what's ultimately revealed to be the sentient spacecraft that has returned from a dimension under our own, which is in fact hell itself. It is a slasher movie in space. It is a crushingly unsubtle slasher movie in space that somehow got an incredible cast that actually holds the whole thing together. If you watch it for absolutely nothing else, watch it for Coop the Funky Spaceman. Cooper is the ship rescue technician. He's basically the guy who Wreck Runner, the audio drama that Mur and I are doing with Six to Start shortly, is directly inspired by Coop. He's the guy who runs off and grabs you when the airlock fails or when your suit bursts or all that kind of thing. And he has no fun at all in Event Horizon, and he's so endearing as a result. It's a really... I hesitate to say it's good. It is a film I'm very fond of.
We have Satan in space.
Satan in space. Yes, and famously it does end with... it's very nearly the only final scene jump scare that I like, largely because it just crash cuts to infamous British early 90s noise merchants Orbital, and a track they did where the refrain is basically really hard electronic dance music and a sample of someone yelling Satan over and over and over.
It was of the time.
It was very much of the time.
Is an excellent description.
Yes. So yeah, that's what happens when I take the brakes off. I have one more thing for you. This is called Recurring Nightmares. Audible have just released an audio adaptation of the first 3 volumes of Neil Gaiman's scripted graphic novel series, The Sandman. If you've never read it, please do. It's a foundational text of modern Western comics storytelling. In very short summary, Lord Morpheus, the embodiment of the concept of dream, is captured by an English occultist and imprisoned for decades. It's actually by accident, and you find out who the occultist was really looking for over those decades, and eventually Morpheus escapes. When he escapes, he sets about discovering how he was caught and what's been done in his absence. It's red-toothed horror and urban fantasy mixed with bone-dry comedy about the artistic mindset and some fundamentally kind storytelling that I still find really surprising and welcome. These books are special, and I say that as someone who fights very shy of the concept of sacred texts. The cast is amazing and includes Riz Ahmed as the Corinthian, who is a nightmare, Michael Sheen continuing Operation Play Every Angel Ever as Lucifer, Scotland's Tiny King James McAvoy as Morpheus, and more. The whole cast is just wow-inducing, and by all accounts, it's an amazing production, and it's actually been put together by Dirk Maggs. Maggs is something of a legend in very small circles over here, of which I am part. Basically, if you were growing up in the UK in a certain time frame, you will have heard Dirk Maggs' version of Judge Dredd. You will have heard him adapt Batman stories. You'll have heard him do 1 or 2 Superman things. And I swear, nothing I'm about to say is made up. I own copies of this. There is physical evidence. This is not an oral hallucination. He produced ID4 UK, which is the side story to the original Independence Day. You may remember in Independence Day, there's a pair of fighter pilots in Egypt who have 2 lines. And one of them is, and I'm not over-egging the accents here at all, the Americans, they have a plan. To which the other one responds, well, it's about bloody time. Brilliantly, ID4 UK is the story of how they got to Egypt. Even more brilliantly, this story involves them taking legendary British astronomer Sir Patrick Moore on an initial kind of fact-finding flight over the UFO, and at one point, this line of dialogue. Dave? Yeah? Am I concussed, or is Sir Patrick Moore having a fist fight with an alien? Well, you're not concussed. It is, by some distance, the weirdest thing I have heard possibly ever. And Maggs is, like I say, is the producer behind it, and he's fantastic, and this will be fantastic. And I'm actually really excited to hear it. But there's a thing that bothers me. There's a thing that makes me very tired, and it's this. There are 20 named characters in the cast. 3 of them are being played by persons of colour. Those actors are Riz Ahmed as the Corinthian, Patterson Joseph as the demon Chronozon, and Reginald D. Hunter as John Johns, also known as the Martian Manhunter. Or to rephrase that, Riz Ahmed is playing a sentient nightmare, Patterson Joseph is playing a demonic nightclub owner, and Reginald D. Hunter is playing an alien. 3 POC cast members in the primary cast list. And none of them are playing humans. And that's why I'm tired. I'm not angry. Others have the right to that anger. I'm also not throwing aspersions. Like I say, Maggs is a legendary audio producer. Gaiman's face is carved into comics Mount Rushmore. Every single one of these cast members is a world-class talent. Samantha Morton's in there, and she's just spent 2 years being the most terrifying element of The Walking Dead. Michael Sheen cannot turn in bad work. He genuinely doesn't know how. James McAvoy's electric combination of intellect and stillness, eloquence and awkwardness is exactly Morpheus. This is going to be great. By all accounts, it is great. But I can't quite not see the version we could have had. Imagine Riz Ahmed as Morpheus. Imagine his softly spoken, gentle presence whispering in the back of your head. Or Patterson Joseph, for that matter, a man who walked away with every single frame of previous game and Project Neverwhere and remains one of the greatest Doctor Who actors we never had. Imagine Reginald D. Hunter, one of my favourite hyper-articulate, funny big men, as Matt the Raven. There is nothing stopping these men being cast in these roles. There's nothing stopping Riz Ahmed, a man who was, by the way, prevented from attending Star Wars Celebration the year Rogue One was released because they wouldn't let him fly, playing an average guy called Dave. God knows they've all earned it. There is nothing in their way but societal institutional bias, and it's always in their way, even, it seems, in Morpheus's realm. And there, more than anywhere, we shouldn't be afraid to dream a little bigger. And that's kind of what I got for you this week. I almost didn't run with that last one because I'm very aware that it potentially ends on a slight downer note. But what I'm trying for there is less a downer and more kind of, this is really good, but this could be good too, you know? And yeah, it's, my critical writing is always really, really weird for me. It's something which I wrestle with an awful lot because I remain perennial. Is good, could be gooder, is actually the perfect definition of that. I perennially wrestle with the fact that I like most things. Marguerite will attest to this. I am incredibly happy when I find a movie I don't like. It's like stumbling through a room filled with fog and finding a corner, you know? It's like, oh, hooray, there are boundaries. And what I find myself writing about and talking about when it comes to the cultural stuff more and more is trying to kind of thread this line between everything has an element to it that's worthwhile, because I firmly believe everything does. And at the same time, when there are elements of stuff which are lazy, or where there is bias which isn't seen, being able to point at that and go, this isn't right. And to do that, I basically have to forget that fog, you say. Yes, I do, Specky. Yes, I do. And to do that, I basically have to forget I'm English. And it's kind of difficult, but I'm working on it. Brilliantly, a friend of mine actually, I'm seeing Ruana's comment about Venom's biggest sin was that it had a perfectly good Riz Ahmed and really rather wasted him.
Yeah, very much so.
The current theory about why Riz Ahmed got that role in Venom, and if you haven't seen it, do see it. It's very gay.
Yes.
Delightful. It genuinely is a romantic comedy about Tom Hardy and his evil symbiote. The theory is that Ahmed got the role firstly because he and Hardy have worked together a lot before, and secondly because they're the same height, so you didn't have to put anyone on blocks.
Really? Riz Ahmed and Tom Hardy are the same height?
Tom Hardy's basically a Dragon Age dwarf. He's about 5'8" in both directions.
Whoa.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
And made almost entirely of tattoos and dogs.
You say that like those are bad things. Those are not bad things at all.
I know. Got the tattoos, working on the dogs.
Yes, we definitely do.
Yes.
Dogs.
So, do we have anything?
So, go ahead and do the transition.
Because, I mean, it is right there.
So no, we don't. We were unsuccessful with finding any shenanigans this week.
So, having been unsuccessful with finding some shenanigans, we thought we'd offer you something a little bit different. How about an open mic night? If there is stuff you have ever wanted to clip, to hear me say, now is the time. The chat is a blank canvas. Go forth. I will say things for you.
Yes, this is absolutely too much power.
Oh dear, this is too much power. Or it's enough power.
This is a limited quantity of power. In the meantime, while chat is having its deep thoughts, why don't you share that AO3 link that existed as of today?
So, those of you who are in the Rusty Quill stream over the weekend will have noticed that I've written some fan fiction. In fact, that's not fair. We've written some fan fiction.
No, you wrote this. I just copied it into AO3.
We have our first request, which is say what one more goddamn time.
Okay, 1 second.
You see the
Oops. Say what one more goddamn time.
And then underneath that.
No, Elias, I don't know what happened to the cronuts. There's another variant on that, which is, no, Elias, I don't know what happened to the cronuts. Elias, haven't we had enough divorces? They're getting a little boring.
And then there's one by Cassidy B underneath there.
Martin, what do you mean by okay boomer?
Heavenly! Oh!
Oh, you're killing me, Smalls. Peter Lucas was not the hero of season 4 of the Magnus Archives.
Oh, we've got another fanfic link here. Hold on a second. I've got a Twitter link.
Okay. According to all known laws of aviation, there is no way that a bee should be able to fly. Its wings are too small to get its fat little body off the ground. The bee, of course, flies anyways, because bees don't care what humans think is impossible.
Can you find that Twitter link up ahead from Specky? Are you able to follow that?
It's
a little comic.
I have that. Haven, you have nothing to apologize for. I'm going to open it in Google Chrome.
Go for it.
Your computer's shiny. I like this.
Yes,
Okay.
it is. My computer is shiny. So this is the comic.
This is a lovely Peter as well. This is really good. Elias, we need to discuss something. Take the cat ears off. This is important.
I like that one.
Dave, for this one, I'll do this in both voices. I think so, Brain, but this time you wear the tutu. And hold on a second, this needs a little bit of a psycho. I think so, Brain, but this time you wear the tutu.
There we go.
That also leads to my all-time favourite one, which is, I think so, Brain, but if they called them sad meals, kids wouldn't eat them. And why can't I play Minecraft on your computer, Elias? Simon installed it for me and we were going to annoy Martin. Elias, don't you think you have enough cat ears by now?
By the way, I would like to point out the fact that Alasdair ran to the bedroom door and made sure it was closed before the stream started because I forgot.
No Swallow Catboy Lumberjacks, not on my watch. 'Tis but a scratch.
Sorry, you'll have to do that again, I laughed.
'Tis but a scratch. And they don't stop coming, 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 and they don't stop coming. I will do this for you again in both voices. You were only supposed to blow the bloody doors off. And, maximum cockney, you're only supposed to blow the bloody doors off, which comes out Australian sometimes. I don't know why. My name is Peter Lucas, and I am a lumberjack cat boy.
There we go. Nice. I might have to get you some cat ears at some point.
I'd wear them.
I know you would, because you're a good person.
Also just around the house.
Maybe we can get Chungus cat ears!
Oh, that would be even better. I'm loving it. I'm not currently on Twitter, folks, so if you are trying to DM me things, I'm not seeing them on Twitter. Please, if you could put them in the chat and said that would be very, really... Yeah, well, of course, a classic.
There was a request for a poem. Did you see it go by?
No. I missed a poem request.
Here we go. John Keats to Solitude. Oh, good choice. Could you make a note of that? We'll do that next week because I don't want to come off airplane mode again for the whole...
Keats the Solitude.
John Keats to Solitude.
To Solitude. Okay, we'll put that on the list for next time.
Next week for sure. Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition.
There we go.
Which was slightly David Servant. Oh, Drexel. David. David, I'm bored. David. Severus, after all this time? Always. The thing... Oh,
You have to do it in Hulk voice, though.
I'll try both. That's my secret, Elias. I'm always lonely. And that's my secret, Elias. I'm always lonely.
Oh, yeah, they want some more nice little perfects as well.
Perfect. Perfect.
Evil.
Perfect. David.
Damn it.
David.
Damn it.
David.
Damn it. We do this in the office more often than you might think.
David. And we've also, Specky has a request for Antagonish, which we'll, again, put on the list. David. David, I'm lonely. David. I am not an especially great impressionist, but the thing which I'm quite good at is rhythm of speech. And the thing which you have to remember with Trexel is everything he says comes off a slope. So Trexel will start with, David, 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 I'm bored. And everything's like a slide down. Oh, big mood. Hail aboard.
There we go. Do you hate being a podcast character?
I'm alright with being the podcast character, actually.
I think... Oh, now... Oh, gosh.
Cardinal Fang!
There we go.
Elias, why is there a sourdough starter in your office? Jesus Christ, it's Jason Bourne.
I love it.
Yes, Tim, especially as Trexel, has very strong Rick Mayall energy. If you ever watch a classic and unbelievably squalid BBC sitcom called Bottom, which is basically Waiting for Godot but with dick punches, Rick Mayall has this fantastic kind of manic energy, and again, it's the very kind of Trexelian thing of, you know, everything is very fast all the time, and then suddenly it all just falls away.
That was pretty good, actually.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. Okay.
One of those weird formative moments that you always remember. Rick Mayall was very famously the host of a show called Grim Tales on Channel 4, which was basically the kids' fairy story show, but with teeth and Iron Maiden albums. And the whole thing was he had this huge battered armchair that had the legs of Baba Yaga's house. And the opening credits were this thing loping across the world. And after a while, it would just kind of tilt sideways and run past it. And he'd look over, scream, and then just gesticulate at you as he fell out of shot. And that had a very early influence on me.
So Dave Robinson's got a good quote for you.
Oh, he does. Okay.
Keep in mind that it's continued. There's a little bit more after the true. So.
See if I can put my best Thorin Dreamboat shield on for this. Richard Armitage is a little bit low, but also he has the enunciation of someone with an Oxbridge education.
Save the fucking world.
Save the fucking world. Have you not heard the tales they tell of the Smaug, the great worm, the destroyer of Dale and the terror of the lonely mountain? How I, after hearing the tales of great treasures in the halls of dwarves, journeyed there from the cold and unforgiving north. How I, after arriving in the area, proceeded to raze the nearby human town of Dale to the ground and take the golden armour and jewels of the dwarves for my own magnificent hoard. And most of all, have you not heard that I am the true king of the mountain? And that's Richard Armitage doing it, and I've completely misread that because it's a Smaug quote.
Yep.
So let's come at this again. The secret to any Benedict Cumberbatch is just over-enunciate everything. And if you go too far, you'll find it just becomes Alan Rickman. Have you not heard the tales they tell of the Smaug, the great worm, the destroyer of Dale and the terror of the lonely mountain? How I, after hearing the tales of great treasures in the halls of dwarves, journeyed there from the cold and unforgiving north. How I, after arriving in the area, proceeded to raze the nearby human town of Dale to the ground, and take the gold and armour and jewels of the dwarves for my own magnificent hoard. And most of all, have you not heard that I am the true king of the mountain?
Drink some tea. Your
Yes.
poor throat.
I see Boo coming to me with Everybody's Dead, Dave. Just, Holly was one of the first voices I actually glommed onto. It's like, everybody's dead, Dave. Dave, everybody is dead. Dead, Dave, everybody is. Everybody is dead, Dave. You know how some quotes just rattle around in your head? For 30 years I've had Norman Lovett go, at this speed, even a left turn's a little bit of a brown trouser moment. Everybody's dying, bitch. Let's get you some fruit. Yes, penguins. Benedict Cumberbatch, classical education, doesn't understand what penguins are. Bless him. Podcast detected. Security alerted.
Nice.
Simon, if you ever tell anyone about my Discworld books, I will punt you into the lonely.
Punt? Yeet. Surely.
Simon, if you ever tell anyone about my Discworld books, I will yeet you into the lonely.
There we go.
Can I offer you some ionized yeast in your time of need? All hail the glow cloud!
Nice.
Please, cabin pressure quotes would be perfect. 5 to 10 pounds of good new flesh! Martin, what's a yeet?
God, that one's gonna stick. That was good.
Boys from the Dwarf.
Loving it. Today's fish is trout a la creme.
Fish!
Exactly. That hurts because we used to live there.
Your attention, please. This is an important message for all passengers hoping to fly to Nottingham. Raise your ambitions. Martin, come quickly. What's a meme? That's the beauty of vodka. Colourless, odourless, proof that God loves pilots. Or at least the Russians do.
Oh, nice one.
Looks like meat's back on the menu, boys.
That was very Carl Urban. Well done.
Ah, well, you're welcome. Peter discovering the joys of a meme. Martin, look, I found another meme. It's got cats in it. Did you know there are cats on the internet, Martin?
Stop. Oh.
Fish!
There we go. Very well.
Peter didn't know the half of it. However, he can be pretty naive. His prize tail's scotch. He thinks I pay full whack for it, but for the past couple of years, when paying an airline pilot to steal it for me, I pocket the difference. Look, I'm very fond of Nottingham. I just wanted Alice to say Douglas Richardson. Thank you.
We lived in Nottingham for 2 years. It was fun.
Once in a real house.
Oh, yeah, the rest of the time we lived pretty much in a construction site. It was, yeah, okay.
That's not even the one I'm talking about. The second year we lived in Beeston, the exact year that they went, the best thing we could do for Beeston is destroy it. And everything was just being rebuilt. And the first year we lived in a partially underground house on a promenade, which in the UK means that it's a sealed off road on one end, and which also means it appears on no sat-navs at all. A year of every truck, delivery driver, postman, pizza guy, always being exactly 15 minutes late. And after a while, whichever one of us had ordered it would just go and stand out the back and look for the guy sitting in his car looking confused. Every time.
Yeah, the trams. I'm sure they're great now.
Oh shit, he's on X game mode. Road work ahead? I sure hope it does. There is a really good and very odd French action movie called Taxi, and like many French action movies, it was remade by Hollywood in the same manner that a dog could photocopy a manuscript. However, there is one truly transcendental joke in it, which, and if I tell you that this movie is the entirety of Jimmy Fallon's movie career, this will tell you everything you need to know. Where halfway through to break the ice with one of his passengers, he goes, "You know what? I always wanted to die peacefully in my sleep like my granddad, not yelling and screaming like the other people in the car." And that was just delivered so well that I was still folded in half 5 minutes later. You want to go see Uncle Cracker or not? Wow.
See, with wow, I always think of...
Awesome. Wow.
Yeah, from
Yeah.
Hamilton, exactly.
Don't worry. Be happy. Because every little thing is going to be all right. This one I will not be able to get through. I warn you in advance. Trexel has 19 bottles of dish soap. And why does Trexel have so many? So mind your business, David.
Oh, good job.
Thank you. I'm a grown adult with a wife, kids, and a mortgage. And when I drop my favourite chips, I don't cry about it.
That is a lie.
This
is Pete, my cephalopod friend. He just wants all the hugs. Thank you, Haven. Hydrate before you dihydrate. Oh, and Owen Wilson style. Wow. Funny you should mention that. Owen Wilson's delivery on "This is real deep blue hero stuff" is another one of those lines that just kind of echoes through my mind a lot.
Yeah, they want more Owen Wilson wows.
Owen Wilson. Wow.
Yeah, nice. I don't get to drop the croissant line.
You almost made me drop my croissant.
Croissant?
Croissant.
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 Or croissant.
There we go.
Dear Diary, my teenage angst BS now has a body count.
You should recommend, what's that? The movie that you love that we watched a couple times with the two girls in the books.
Booksmart, which is by some distance.
By the way, that's how our relationship works. I'm like, tell me about the book by the guy with the thing. And he rattles it off. That's his job.
By some distance, one of the most fun movies I've seen, I think, so far this decade. Caitlin Dever and Beanie Feldstein as two hyper-achieving students who one day before graduation realize everyone else has slacked off and they're still going to the same schools.
Oh, Cassidy.
What up? I'm Jared, 19, and I never learned how to read. I mean, it's one banana, Elias. What could it cost? $10?
I love it. Peter has never been to the grocery store.
He has people for that. He briefly had a chef.
He very briefly had a chef. That is correct.
I have not seen which, or as I have to consciously not do every time, I have not seen the Vivitch. I have seen The Lighthouse, which...
You've just read the next quote, haven't you? Oh, it's been a long day and they've broken you. Oh no.
Okay, real quick, two things. My friend Xavier Nelson Jr. is an incredibly talented game designer who is shortly releasing a game called An Airport Built by Aliens that is presently staffed by dogs. That is somehow even better than the name suggests. And Xavier now has a very, very strict policy of watching horror movies before he watches them with the family for the first time. The Lighthouse, the second film by Robert Eggers, the director of The Witch, is why. Because, he tweeted about how he has this policy, and he said, you want to know why? Because I just watched The Lighthouse with my mom. You ever watched a movie with your mom where a pivotal plot point is William Dafoe's discharge dripping from a ceiling? I have. How you been?
Okay, you have to do the one from Lily and I.
I'm working on it. That's it, David. You're in time.
It's not gonna work.
I can do it. I must focus.
Lemon face.
That's it, David. You're in timeout. I can do it.
Breathe.
That's it, David. You're in timeout. Get on top of the fridge. This ship is a nightmare.
Oh gosh.
You know, Peter, this is exactly why we were banned from Whole Foods. You'll be back. Soon you'll see that lonely's better than it seems to be. You'll be back. Time will tell. Martin, I know that you will serve us well.
There we go. Nice. Well done.
Thank you. To the Museum of Sex with my grandmother. Wow!
We should post a little if I can, I need to post a little video of you I took with... Tell everybody about the Geiger Museum in Gruyere.
Switzerland is so weird. There
and
are.
awesome and weird.
It's great. We stayed there with magnificent friends of ours who took us up an Alp. I've been up an Alp in trainers. That just feels like cheating. And at one point I watched a plane at 3,000 feet fly past under me. That was a trip. But there is the small town where H.R. Geiger, the concept designer for Alien and also Species, but let's not speak ill of the dead, grew up, has a massive museum of all his classical concept art and stuff. And I mean, it's a lovely town. It's a fort on a hill. It kind of looks like Doctor Doom's summer home. And they have a cafe. And at this cafe, they serve two things. They are coffee with optional absinthe and meringues. And the cafe is decorated like the inside of H.R. Geiger's head. So there is a wall of screaming baby faces. And there's a biomechanical throne. And
Okay, let me draw a line underneath that. You go up the Alp, you get to the cafe, you get into the town, they serve you espresso, meringues, and absinthe
I said that.
for breakfast.
And perhaps did not make that
And
clear.
then they make you go through Geiger's museum.
It's a good time. Okay. Everything the light touches is our kingdom. That's, yeah, you can't get deep enough for James Earl Jones. Yeah. I don't know how you did this, Elias, but please stop calling me. I'm in lonely. I don't care how hilarious the clip is. Elias, please. We are in a Nordstrom's. I eat Cheerios because they're hot. I eat Cheerios because they're... Oh, I eat Cheerios because they're heart healthy and my heart is severely damaged. So if you're out there, Elias,
Oh, God.
the captain has turned on the signs, so stow away bags of all kinds. Make sure your tray is folded away and your seat back no longer reclines.
You have to do the one from Cucumber.
I didn't fall. I just, sauntered vaguely downwards.
There's one after that.
Elias, you have to see this. He turned himself into a pickle. It's the funniest shit I've ever seen.
And then Specky's. And then we'll call it there.
Elias, I will leave you in this IKEA.
Alright, and let's wrap it up there for this one.
Oh, thank you so much, folks.
Happy clipping. I'm sure you're going to have lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of them.
Once more with feeling.
Once more. Okay, you have to do that last one. Come on.
No, fuck you. Statement begins.
That was one of my all-time favorites. Infinite IKEA is the modern lonely. Did we tell them about Horror Store?
Grady Hendrix,
let me go grab
long-term
that book. Hold on.
long-term friend of Pseudopod and us, is an amazingly good author. He's written he wrote a brilliant movie called Satanic Panic, which is Rebecca Romaine as a really grumpy Nordic witch in modern-day Los Angeles. And his most recent one is The Southern Ladies Book Circle of Vampire Hunters. But he is best known for Horror Store, which is both an IKEA assembly manual and a novel about a haunted IKEA.
Here we go. But more importantly, show them the book.
Look at this thing.
It looks like an IKEA catalog. Like the inside it's laid out like a manual, like the little assembly manual. It's really fun.
They found Basil and the others in bedrooms, hiding behind a Drazel chest of drawers.
It's really it's creepy and weird, and the presentation
Great book.
is absolutely amazing. Right.
Okay, thank you so much, folks. This has been exactly what we needed today.
Yes, exactly.
We will be back on Sunday, which will be Sunday for us.
Which will be Sunday for us.
Yes, possibly slightly later because Saturday will have started quite early. It's possible Friday won't have stopped. But we will be back on Sunday in some form, and there will be Beyond Blueage and Coffee and Chats. And then we'll be back on Wednesday. When are we kicking off Defensive Baking next
That's
Wednesday?
correct. We're going to, on Wednesday, normal 10 o'clock time, we'll start.
Okay, this is absolutely the last one, and I love it so. Oh, hun, you're back soon. IKEA's haunted. What? Coxgun. IKEA's haunted. And on that bombshell, thank you so much, folks. This has been a blast, and we will see you soon. Have a good one.
Good night, everybody.